Alexander Graham Bell. Alexander Graham Bell, or commonly called Graham Bell, is famous for his invention of the telephone. It resolves communications from letters, passwords, to voice transmission via telephone. Adapted from history, Graham Bell was the true pioneer of the telephone despite many disagreements. To date, Graham Bell has more than 18 patents for his discoveries in communications. Scotland. Alexander Graham Bell was born in Edinburgh, Scotland on March 3, 1847. Bell's father was a professor at the University of Edinburgh and his mother was a famous pianist despite being deaf. Bell is a highly intellectual child who wants to learn the piano. Bell's two brothers died of tuberculosis when Bell was 20 years old. Education. Bell did not excel academically. Since childhood, he studied by homeschooling. However, from an early age, Bell was always solving problems. When he was 12 years old, Bell invented a rotating paddle and nail brush device that could separate the chaff and seeds in wheat to improve agricultural processes. At the age of 16, Bell began studying the mechanics of speech. He went on to the Royal High School and the University of Edinburgh. In 1870, he and his family moved to Canada. The following year, Bell settled in the United States. In the United States, Bell followed his father to teach deaf children. In 1872, Bell opened the School of Vocal Physiology and Mechanics of Speech in Boston, where deaf people were taught to speak. At the age of 26, he became professor of vocal physiology and elocution at Boston University School of Oratory. While teaching, Bell met Mabel Hubbard, a deaf student. On July 11, 1877, they married and had 4 children, including 2 sons who died in infancy. Telephone. In 1871, Bell also worked in a telegraph office, a device that sends messages over a cable at the same time. The technology was backed by a group of investors and Bell began looking for a way to transmit the human voice over cables. In 1875, together with his friend Thomas Watson, Bell began converting electricity into sound. At the same time, other scientists such as Antonio Musi and Elisha Gray were also working on the same technology. However, Bell was quicker to come to the patent office and obtained his patent on March 7, 1876. After obtaining the patent, Bell made his first call to Watson with the now famous phrase, "Mr. Watson, come here. I need you." Also read, Biography of Simon Hudi, Hero and Batik Trader. In 1877, the Bell Telephone Company known as AT&T was founded. In 1915, Bell made Watson's first transcontinental telephone call from New York to San Francisco. Alexander Graham Bell perfected the telegraph invented by F.B. Morse in 1843. The disadvantage of the telegraph was that it still required manual message delivery between the telegraph station and the recipient of the message. By combining telegraph and voice recorder technology, Bell developed a telephone prototype. In this first telephone, sound waves appeared due to electric currents that differed both in intensity and frequency. Also read, Biography of Prince Diponegoro, leader of the Java War. This difference in frequency and intensity causes vibrations in a thin iron plate called a diaphragm. The vibrations are magnetically transferred to another network of cables that connect one diaphragm to another diaphragm at a great distance. When the diaphragm vibrates, the original sound is replicated to the receiver and someone elsewhere can hear the fake sound. Transmission mode. Wire. Taken from Encyclopedia Britannica 2015, in 1950 telephone lines were carried by coaxial cables. Technology developed by Bell Laboratories. Coaxial cables are capable of carrying higher frequency electrical signals so that one channel can carry many telephone conversations. Microwave. Apart from the wire, there is also a microwave relay station. In this system, telephone signals are used to modulate high frequencies called microwaves. These radio signals are transmitted from antennas located on high towers to others who are in line of sight. Many telephone conversations can be carried out on any microwave frequency. Satellite. For global or cross-continental transmissions, telecommunications operators use communications satellites. This satellite is located in geosynchronous orbit GSO or around 22,200 miles 35,700 kilometers above the Earth's surface. Satellites in GSO function as relay transmitters without interference. These satellites are not only used in telephones, but also data and television. They carry half a dozen receiving and transmitting antennas, along with electronic amplification equipment, powerful transmitters, and large switching circuits. Satellites are also powered by an array of solar cells that surround the satellite. By the mid-1980s, satellite capacity had grown more than 100-fold in 20 years. Fiber optic cable. In the early 1980s, fiber optic cables appeared which were more sophisticated and faster than satellites or microwaves. Optical fibers use light as a transmission medium for microwaves. Because light has a high frequency, many voice or data channels are transmitted via light waves or optical fibers. In theory, a single fiber optic cable can carry hundreds of millions of telephone conversations, thousands of times more than a satellite. A fiber optic connection begins with an electrical telephone signal fed into a small semiconductor laser that produces light in response to the incoming signal. At the other end, the photodetector converts the incoming signal back into electricity for local transmission. Cell phone. As with satellites, cell phones were introduced in the 1980s. In a cell phone system, a geographic area is broken down into smaller areas with each having a transmitter and receiver. When a caller moves from one place to another, the frequency also moves from one frequency to another, according to the position of the cell phone used. Early cellular systems used analog technology. In the 1990s, mobile phones became increasingly dependent on digital equipment and frequencies were increasingly split. With quite a lot of mobile demand, cell phones continue to grow.